Hi, I'm Jesse Cannon. This is My Point 4 Cents.
I'm Andrew Southworth.
I'm Olivia Pierce.
I'm Dustin Boyer. And this week I'll be talking to Ben Schuler, a very successful artist here from Nashville who's completely independent. He built his own empire from scratch, and you'd be really surprised on how he did it.
Then after the interview, we'll be talking about how people are trying to game the Billboard charts.
Then behind the paywall, we'll be discussing the greatest content creation tool in your pocket, as well as the controversy surrounding Cradle of Filth using old members' likeness to make content for their new material without those members in the band. So guys, Patreon, I think they always are doing very interesting things. I think Jack, his keynote, I think 2 years ago at South by Southwest was one of the better keynotes on how social media is changing. This is a pretty interesting move here. What are you guys seeing?
I feel like Jack Conte has a crystal ball because one was just a normal artist. He had a successful band, Pomplamoose, which I don't know, but they were successful on their own. He started Patreon, which is like started a whole like industry of models for creatives online. But then, as you said, he had this video about Death of the Follower several years ago, which kind of explained the pitch, the shift of these social media platforms to go away from a follower-based feed to just an algorithmic recommendation feed. And the fact that he's talking about something new, given how accurate, like how good he's been in the past of predicting where things are going, makes me very inclined to take what he has to say seriously. And then he dropped this banger of a video, which I'm sure we'll have links somewhere, that is 7 minutes of like the most aesthetically pleasing video ever to watch, that he somehow partnered with New York Times to make. I don't know. It was very impressive watching it.
Where do you guys think he was able to find such good creators to work with?
Well,
Patreon?
he is a good
That was the
creator.
joke. That was
Oh, was it a
that
joke?
was the joke. Yeah, no.
I was like, he is a good creator. He knows all the good creators. It's funny, man, because in my head, well, first of all, I didn't even realize, so you guys told me a couple weeks ago that Pomplamoose was the same dude who started Patreon. It kind of blew my mind, which I love because obviously he has musicians in mind versus these companies in the past who have taken advantage of artists. What's the one that shut down and like stole everybody's money? Remember that?
Which one? It's a lot of places.
There was a fundraising app about 5 or 6 years ago that shut down and then just went bankrupt and took all the artist money that are in mid fundraising. I forget what it was called, but since that happened, I put these fundraising companies in the back of my mind, including Patreon. But I will tell you now what's interesting about this is,
Was it Pledge Music?
yeah, maybe it was Pledge Music.
Yeah.
I Googled it and that came out.
I think you're right. That is what but don't you think Patreon is more a subscription than a fundraiser?
Well, I hadn't even,
For sure.
in my head, they were the same. I mean, I think Patreon was that. They were very GoFundMe back in the day. And so in my head, that's their brand. Were they not? Maybe I just misjudged them or misunderstood
I
them.
don't remember that, but that doesn't mean anything because God knows which brain cells I drank away.
When they first launched, they weren't a monthly subscription, or maybe it was an option, but like a lot of creators had a per video model where basically you would pledge money per creation, which could be per song, per video, and then the artist would launch the creation and they would get paid. So it was almost kind of like a crowdfunding subscription hybrid. And then over time, people mostly shifted to just the pay a certain, like kind of like a Netflix type thing, subscribe to this artist and you get everything they have or whatever.
But I think what he's saying here, though, like, it's very funny because, like, we see that he made that speech with the Death of the Follower, and now he's saying, well, no one listened to me, so I'll just make it myself. And I think this concept he's calling quips is pretty interesting. I kind of see this as, do you all feel like you have discussions where everybody just says, wasn't Instagram better in 2018, 2013, 2019? Nothing was better after the pandemic, so I'm not going there. What do you guys see there?
I think that is tough generationally because there is this space online in like the, debating between people is like Instagram used to be very cringe. Instagram used to be very outdated. Instagram used to be very gross. So I don't know because people have
Like
like
millennials.
very, very differing opinions on the aesthetics, on the way they're used. I think like the way it is now, people are getting really jaded with, and that's why we're seeing this conversation because it's just TikTok. and people don't like all the copycatting. They don't like that everything is Snapchat and TikTok and Instagram all at the same time. There needs to be some sort of niching for these platforms in order to have like a dedicated fan base, I think. But not necessarily that things were so much better before. I just think people are so tired of everything being the same app.
Yeah, there is definitely a homogeneity, if that's even the right word, to every single platform ever. Like you go on Instagram and there's reels and stories and posts. You go on TikTok and there's TikToks and stories and posts and DMs. And you go on Facebook and there's reels and there's posts and
And
it's
it's the
just like
same content.
everything's, yeah, and it's the same content because artists are repurposing, or not just artists, everyone.
Everyone reposts to every platform, and then Shorts is just everything at the same time as well.
But my thing would be this, and I've admitted this on this podcast before, but like the app I'm most addicted to the For You page on is Twitter. And when I go on following, I'm bored. When I go on following on TikTok, I'm bored. But my For You page is good. But it seems like some of what Quips is saying is like following a creator and you'll get suggested similar creators. And kind of like what Instagram was a few years ago, what most social media was. My question is, in my heart of hearts, I like that idea, but in my little gerbil brain that's being tested by a computer, fuck, I don't think it's real.
But I think there's two sides of the wants on these apps. There is this reptile gerbil brain, as you call it, where they want to keep scrolling and scrolling and scrolling. And then you kind of hit this dead end. And I don't know if you all have felt it, and I know this is anecdotal, but you hit this sort of dead end emptiness and you start to strive towards like communication and community. And I'm a part of this. And I think that that is missing from the social media atmosphere. And I see it in our marketing efforts where we're trying to pull people into SMS because we can start to create a conversation, but it's very expensive. So the logical next step is a fan space, a community, a Substack. And there really isn't anything like that for musicians, really. So much so that many musicians are hiring out to create their own app. We just launched one with Lone Bellow, and it's great. It's fantastic. So I like this. I think what Jack is leaning towards, having a space for musicians to create community, that is missing. I think that that's going to become more and more important. Now, tear
Uh,
away.
So, no, but we'd be remiss to say, okay, a lot of people, and I think it's interesting. I'm seeing some of the smarter groups, like for example, the band Metric has always been one of the bands that is 3 steps ahead of the curve. They also are moving everyone from their mailing list into their app now, and so talk to us about why that is in such an advantage, because if I'm being real, that feels real 2010 to me. Like I remember like Nine Inch Nails migrating me to their app in like 2009 when the App Store first started, and it was largely a very boring experience.
Well, that's actually one of the pitfalls if you're not careful. Skillet did the same thing last year when we worked with Skillet. And one of our frustrations, I'm just talking about I hope they don't watch this, but one of our frustrations was that I think and management knew this, and I think the band knew this, that they weren't feeding actual community content. It was just like merch stuff and like it is that is the problem with these fan clubs, is that you need to actually build and be a part of your community. If you're not in your community, then your community dies. And so these apps are not a place to just siphon all of your discount codes in the cheapest way possible. It needs to be an actual place that you exist in and respond to people. And that's why, I mean, part of the problem with SMS is that it's a two-way conversation. And that's great early on, but at some point you need to build a community that communicates with each other. And that finding a space for that you can be a part of, that is the value in my opinion.
Yeah, I think we see artists building these apps mostly because of the fear of such changing platforms and like the way all of our social media is, here one day, gone the next, or favors you one day, you're out on the algorithm the next. So they are wanting to own their own fan bases. I think that's wonderful, but it needs to be a separate business. You need to have full-time employees. You need to have people creating experiences, worlds, activities. It's got to be way more interactive than hopping in the app once or even 3 times a week and to say hey to your fan base. That's not what an app does. It needs to be like a game or something really interactive for people. Otherwise, there is no value.
That makes a lot of sense. So you guys, though, are really saying that what you're seeing makes the difference of success for this, though, is that the artist is actually very present in it, which I'm kind of interested in.
Yeah, the artist or the team has a really concerted effort to make this fun and interactive with fans. And it is better if the artist is involved, but I know that that's not possible for a lot of management or, artists who are touring and busy and at that level. So even if the artist is not involved, management and the team has to be really hyperactive to make the value worth it for fans. So like I said, maybe creating like events or spaces where people are talking or like secret whole content projects just for the app. Like it should be an entirely different business model than how artists are using it now, which is just kind of like, hey, this merch is on sale. That's for your SMS list. That is not what an app is for.
I feel like this feeling where you want a community place to exist that Patreon might be trying to do, and maybe by having your own app might accomplish, is like back in the day when Facebook added groups. For a while, it slapped. Right, it was like such a hack to have a group and communicate, and if you basically if anyone posted in that group, everyone was seeing their timelines. And then because Facebook's incentive isn't like community and subscriptions, their incentive is ad revenue. It very quickly turned into, their normal thing, right? New feature, heavily prioritize it, get everyone invested, sink their time into it, strip it back, control it, add advertising features over it. That's like their every time they do anything, that's their playbook. They're doing with Threads right now. Threads is
Mhm.
awesome. It's like a growth hack for anyone, but it's slowly getting trickled into the Meta thing, and Patreon doesn't have the same financial incentives. So I wonder if it'll be like a good version of that.
Andrew, I just appreciate when you're trashing Meta for being evil instead of me for once. I really appreciate you throwing me a bone here.
No one complains about Meta more than me.
Yeah, okay.
Like every time I'm talking to someone, they're like, what the fuck with Meta? This platform's horrible. I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
yes, they are horrible. They just happen to have the best ad platform out there right now.
The most effective, best is, I guess, depending. But I, for the first time, had to disconnect the Shopify from one business manager and attach it to the other. And oh my
God.
God,
Yeah.
what are they doing over at Meta? That was a nightmare to do. Anyways, so I feel you.
If you ever have a page that's linked to one business portfolio and you need to get it to another, but you don't have
Yep.
access to that business portfolio anymore, that is like a nightmare scenario for
And then you have
any
to
ad.
walk people through it. Oh my God.
That's what groups used to be. They used to be this fantastic way to build communities online, and people get notifications. They'd see your stuff. You could live stream. You could have intergroup communications, or it could be one to many. And then Meta did what Meta does. But if the incentive isn't that, if the incentive is, well, we're getting 10% of all the subscriptions on the platform already, so like it really doesn't matter. We just want to keep we just want to keep engagement up and people interacting with creators. We don't care about selling ad slots. Does that mean Patreon will do it like the right way, so to speak?
I don't know about y'all, but like the two things I get from established artists with fan bases all the time is like, I wish I could contact my YouTube subscribers dash Spotify, da da da. Then the second one is man, Facebook groups, man, when they worked and like it, I mean, like a lot of what we built with Man Overboard was purely just that we were able to talk to 30,000 of their fans and have most of them see it on a regular basis because of that group. And it did so much algorithmic push back then. And like, it really, really helped.
And you put all that time and effort. I think this goes back to what Olivia is saying. You put all this time and effort into building these followers, and then these platforms make you pay for it, which is why bands prefer to just have, if they can afford it, have a company build their app. I mean, Skillet, the company actually treated it like a record label. They were like, hey, we'll front the cost, build your app, and then you will do a subscription or whatever, and we'll collect X percentage until recoupment. It was pretty much a record label deal, but
Mhm.
Skillet owns that space. There is no ulterior motive that somebody's going to whatever later where they're going to charge them for. They own that. They own the data. They own the communication. And I think that should be the end game. Even artists that are pushing 100,000 monthly listeners, ultimately, your what you've done to hit 100,000 isn't going to get much further until you start communicating with people. And if Patreon is the way that you, and now it sounds like we're pushing Patreon, but it sounds exciting. Like if that's the place you can do that at and start communicating with people until you build your own thing, I think that's amazing.
Do you guys work with the artists that have like solid Patreons? So for example, like I work on Kevin Devine's Patreon every month where
Do you? I
Kevin,
love Kevin Devine.
yeah,
He's like one of my favorite artists of all time.
Wow.
what one of the
Sorry,
greatest
I didn't know that
human-
you worked with him.
Oh,
Slay.
so Kevin and I make 2 songs at least every month for his Patreon. He does a stream on it, and it's like consistently though, like he's had this. We've been doing it for almost 6 years now, and that's a format I see works for a lot of artists. Like my friend Damage also like does unreleased demos, but like delivering regular things, whether they're alternate versions, reimaginings of covers like Kevin does, or unreleased demos like Damage does amazing things for getting fans excited to contribute every month. And Kevin really is delivered on a consistent basis, never misses, and that's what keeps his Patreon going so
It's
strong.
Wow.
Margot Price uses Substack in that
Substack.
way,
Hmm.
and it's effective because she stays on it. That's really the key to it.
So say more about what she does. I'm very curious.
So she mostly writes because Substack, right? But she is a storyteller. So it's a platform that makes a lot of sense for her fans, I think, because they look to her for stories, for that more intimate, in-depth. She's also a writer. So, but it's that more in-depth writing that you can't get anywhere else. That's the value that she brings, and Substack, I think, is just the community that makes the most sense for it.
So yeah, there's an artist I work with that they make somewhere between like 15-ish K a month from their Patreon. And I
Wow.
brought them up in the past before, but like all they do typically is like 1 or 2 posts a week. They do like a weekly live stream to their patrons. They give them access to music videos and songs a week or 2 early, and they give them discount codes and random behind the scenes things. But for them, it's like their fans get what essentially that's all they need, right? It's not super involved. They're not posting every day, and their fans eat it up. Like they do have people paying them over like they have people at their $50 a month tier. Most people pay $15 a month or $3,
Wow.
but they have people at their $50 a month, and those people that give more, they give like signed every album they release, they sign it and ship it to them, and they sign posters and ship it to them and lyric sheets and stuff. But most of it's just behind the scenes stuff once every week or 2.
That's really cool. This is something I think about a lot because we work with mostly like this level of artist, and is like, I would not suggest investing in an app for an artist of the size of like 100,000 or less, or a little
Yeah.
bit above. But this sounds like the perfect way for them to own their own fan base that's a little bit deeper than SMS and email, or even could coincide with that or be in place of it, since those platforms can be expensive. So if you
And
could
it
just
could make them
drive,
money.
yeah, so this could make you
Yeah.
money instead of having to continue to pay like Community or a company like that every time you send out a message. I would suggest a mid-level or like smaller artist around 100,000 to move into this Patreon space and try to give like 2 things a month or 3 things a month, maybe like unreleased demos, like you guys said, acoustic. And I'm an independent artist around that size, so this is something that I've been thinking about a lot because I want to start getting into the SMS space and really hone my own list in some sort, because these apps are difficult. The algorithms are very challenging and it's always up and down. Even Spotify is really destroying a lot of our artists right now for no reason in the algorithm. And it's just difficult to continue to see your growth be stopped and plateaued by computers. So this is definitely something that I will look into for myself and other artists my size.
You know, it's really interesting too that I've seen with other Patreons I work with is So I'm also an avid Patreon consumer. Funny enough, I trimmed my Patreon subscriptions literally last night because there's like one or two I'm no longer like consuming. So I was like doing that thing. But so I subscribe to 8 now very regularly. And you, if you want, get an email every time they put up something new,
Right.
which is really good for the more erratic ones, but also is that direct to fan relationship where you're even doing emails that it's like part of the automatic thing that when you push an update, it goes to people by default. So like you get a lot out of that by using their platform to do that, of reminding fans to go deeper in your relationship with you.
It's a
Definitely.
good
I
way
haven't
to.
logged into my Patreon for a while, but if I recall, for any subscriber you have, it gives you their email address when they subscribe to you on
Mm.
Patreon. I don't know if they still do that, but I feel like I remember that being a thing.
I remember that being a thing too, but I have not looked in a while.
And you can like do that direct Discord integration too. So
Yep.
anytime someone subscribes a certain tier, they get added to Discord with a special membership level. So you can like say, you're like a unicorn tier and you're like a dragon level member or whatever, right?
A lot of
I
people
love
make
it.
the Discord access $1 or free so that they can just get you into the ecosystem and upsell you. I noticed too when I was unsubscribing from those ones last night, they now say, would you like to just become a free tier user instead of that? So I'm still seeing them in there, and then I could go look like, okay, like for example, one of the ones I unsubscribed from was Brett Easton Ellis because like he doesn't have guests on regularly. He has it on once in a while. But if I see he has a new guest that I really like, I may come back.
And Olivia, you said another thing that got me turning, that like having the app in a way kind of has an overlap with the SMS or like the community, that the SMS platform, or other ways to reach out to your fans, because like if you have an app, you can send push notifications if the person
Exactly.
is opted for it. And like push notifications are, I would say, like even better than SMS
Yeah.
because like
Yeah.
it
Comes right
notifies
up.
them
Mhm.
on their devices and everything. And you could say like, I want to do a push notification with an email if you're an app owner. And like obviously the person who owns the phone can turn off all notifications, but
You'd be surprised how many people leave push notifications. I mean, when we were working with
Yeah.
Skillet, they would give us the stats on push notifications, and it was crazy. I forget what it was. It was like 80 or 90%.
Mhm.
Um,
do those cost money? Like if you own the app, there's no
good.
cost to
I
push
don't
out
think
push
so.
notifications.
I don't
SMS
believe.
No.
is like a penny a pop in the
No,
Yeah.
US or something.
exactly. No, you wanna be careful and choosy with how many push notifications you send because people will turn them off. So
Yeah.
it's like that's what you
Uber
do for the
Eats.
real well, that's what you do for the
Yeah.
really big stuff, with your app. But again, like apps are many hundreds of thousands of dollars to develop a lot of the time. So this is like only the biggest artists are doing stuff like that.
I use a platform called Mighty Networks for my like course online community and stuff. And they have an app. Now people have to download the Mighty Networks app. I
Mhm.
could like pay more. It's egregiously expensive to have like a dedicated app, but
Mhm.
it's kind of a hybrid where you can have a community, people can join, you can charge subscriptions, you can gate content, you can do whatever, like Patreon. But you can actually send push notifications essentially if people have opted into it. The only caveat is since it's like they could be subscribed to multiple under Mighty Networks, they might be more inclined to throttle them back so they're not getting bombarded.
Hey everyone, Dustin here. Today I'm interviewing Ben Schuler. He's a longtime friend of mine, an accomplished artist, independent artist, and that's what I really want to get into. He is highly successful in both streaming and video content, as well as having a YouTube channel called Nerd Out that is also highly successful. I'm super stoked to talk to Ben. Like I said, we've known each other for a while. We've gotten to work together on a few different occasions. And what's so great about Ben is that he figured out how to make a career for himself on his own without the industry. And I think a lot of people don't know his story. He's a bit of a dark horse in the sense that I don't think people realize how much he's been able to accomplish and how he does it on his own. In fact, I think I've even seen in the past him called an industry plant just because of the high quality of his content, and people just assume. So
Gotta
yeah,
get the plug in there.
yeah, no, that was not purposeful, I promise. But Ben, no, super stoked to have you, man. I'm really excited to have this conversation. And yeah, just let's just get right into it, man. So how long, let's just start with like the basics. To give us a little bit of your backstory. How long have you been an artist?
Yeah, man. Well, first of all, Thanks for having me. Yeah, like you said, we've known each other for almost a decade now.
We
No,
met
maybe not
at
that
a
long.
party.
It's like 2017, 2018, maybe. I don't know.
I
It's
don't
been.
think maybe it was that long ago. And
I don't know.
I was eating food and making a mess of myself. And I just was talking to him and I said, I think I said something like, "You look like a YouTube guy. You look like you have like a successful YouTube channel." And you were like, "Yeah, kind of. What?" I just nailed you
You
from the
called me
get-go.
out. Yeah, I spot me from a mile away.
Yeah,
Um,
dude. And we
no,
got to
man.
chatting. We worked together. But yeah, I mean, you've been an artist since you were a kid, though. I've seen
Oh
the
yeah,
videos of you being a kid writing
yeah, man.
songs about,
I've
was it
been.
waffles?
Yeah, pancakes and waffles. That was my
Yeah.
first. It's still on YouTube to this day. Me and a couple friends in 7th grade made a music video called Pancakes and Waffles. It's probably my best work, honestly.
It got the views back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, in the 7th grade classroom, when in the hallways selling those CDs for 50 cents, like, yeah, no, we were making it happen.
No, and I know you were a musician. I've seen all the content. You were a musician through your teens, college. You had an emo phase.
Oh man, did I have an emo phase? But yeah, so been making music my whole life, like so many of us. But yes, kind of started out in that pop punk world, I guess, when I was really getting into it. I've always been a producer, always been in the production side. I've also always been fascinated by the video side. So I've always been making music videos, even when they were just, terrible on, dad's camera that I stole out of the room. And hey, friends, I got the camera. Let's make a video. But yeah, I've been doing that forever. Had the pop punk phase where that was kind of, grew up on Green Day and Good Charlotte and All American Rejects and that vibe. I had the swoopy hair. You can find if you go back on Facebook far enough, you can find the pictures of me with these straightened swoopy hair, and it's kind of gross, but also kind of a vibe. Like I think.
It made sense back then. It
Oh
wasn't
yeah,
gross back then. Now we look back and we're like, "Oh my god."
maybe I need to bring it back. I don't know. Like it was
No,
kind of
not yet. I don't think the world's ready for the swoopy hair again.
it was kind of a look. But yeah, then I moved to Nashville in like 2014. And I had already been putting music out just like on YouTube. I had made a bunch of YouTube covers that was kind of like, I'm from Michigan, not a lot of music industry things there. And it's just, how can I get myself out there? Okay, like people are making acoustic covers on YouTube. I'm gonna do that. And so yeah, just had my little computer, had GarageBand, and recorded myself in my bedroom closet, and used to put up acoustic covers. Moved to Nashville after I graduated college because it was kind of like, all right, there's no music industry here in middle of Michigan. Let's get to Nashville where stuff's happening. And yeah, I moved here, got like really dialed in on that YouTube scene. Oh man, there was a phase where I was like putting out a YouTube cover every Friday. So like how new music comes out on Fridays at midnight.
Mhm.
I would do the scouting beforehand, what releases are gonna come out every Friday. And they would come out, Thursday at midnight, or I guess 11 p.m. in Nashville Central Time, and I would immediately listen to the song. I would record my piano, I'd record my vocals, make a video, and I would post it to YouTube by like 6 a.m. And I did that for, I don't know, 3 or 4 years, just to like get my foot in the door, just build a following. Cause like I
I
didn't
mean,
know what I was doing.
that was the game before TikTok and Reels
Oh
and the
yeah.
algorithm. Like you had to play the SEO game on YouTube, and I had a buddy who did the same thing but with drumming.
Mm.
And if you searched, and there were so many people doing it, but people would search for the song that just came out on YouTube, and you wanted to be on that front page with the actual song.
That was it. And it was like guaranteed people are going to be searching for this thing. Like they're not going to search for this no name, nobody artist original songs that are coming out. And I was still making original music at the time. And like I started working with my good friend Matt Giroux here. And we like co-produced my first album that came out around that same time. But like that wasn't obviously getting any
What
traction or
was this, like
streams or anything. This was
2015?
2015. Yeah. So yeah, that first album. But like my hope was that if I get enough content out there and, like you said, play the SEO game. I didn't know what the word SEO meant at the time, but that's what it was. And, getting enough
By the way,
subscribers.
search engine optimization. We shouldn't
Yes.
assume everybody. So essentially, the idea is that you're hunting down for the terms that are most searched and tying it to your video, so you hit the front page of YouTube when people search those terms.
Yeah. And that was the game. Like you said back then, this is way before short form content existed. And so, yeah, kind of built up a following through that. Had maybe 50,000 subscribers on YouTube, nothing crazy, but it was enough that I was starting to get some streams. And like I didn't know this at the time, but I guess I learned this at the time that you could put covers out on iTunes and Spotify. And there was a way to just like go through one of like the websites that would get the cover license for you. And you could put this music out on sites where you could actually get paid for it. And so I started making money off of these acoustic covers, which was crazy.
One of
Because
them, I mean, at what 20 million streams so far.
Yeah.
Once I was 7 years old, it's
Yeah,
still
so
crushing, right?
that was kind of like the reason I was able to quit my job as a server at Red Lobster.
See, I haven't heard this lore. So when did you? Because this is what I find interesting and what I mostly want to get into is you found a way to make this shit work for you so you could quit your day job. And so I was always really curious because Nerd Out in my mind was a big catalyst for you there, but it sounds like that wasn't even the breaking point. It was this cover song that
And
allowed you to do
it
that.
actually came around at the same time, but it wasn't. So yeah, I guess like the timeline. I moved here 2014, worked at Red Lobster as a server, which, great job. Honestly, like people shit on serving jobs all the time. The Red Lobster in Cool Springs, like great people. I had a great experience. I think being a server was actually a lot of fun. Met some of my best friends there.
Any musician who has been there is nobody's disagreeing. We're like, yeah, we've all served. I've served tables. And not every single musician, but many
Most
of
of
us.
them. A lot of them.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Wasn't it Cardi B that also worked at Red Lobster?
I
think it
think
was Cardi
so.
B.
I think
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
Cardi B.
Yeah, yeah.
Ah,
You're
it was either
both
no, it might
Red Lobster alumni.
it might have been Nicki Minaj. I can't remember.
No, it was definitely not Nicki Minaj.
It was a
I think it was
female
Cardi
rapper,
B.
though. Okay. But yeah, so
Anyways.
I worked there, to pay rent while I was still, I'd go home and I would make music. And because I was able to start making money on these covers, because my original music wasn't making any money, I was able to go from working 5 days a week to 4 to 3 to 2 and just kind of like slowly whittle it down to where I started, making about the same amount of money off of music that I was at Red Lobster. And then, as you mentioned,
That'd be awesome.
and
To just be like,
yeah, that was another, like as I said before, that like, I was doing it because it was a way to get my foot in the door. It was also, I saw an avenue to finally make music for a living. And it was like, this was a way that I saw that, oh, wow, I can actually make money off making music and eventually like quit like working at this restaurant. And like, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel if I kept on this path. And then you mentioned the Once I Was 7 years old, I did a cover of Lucas Graham's 7 Years, and it went crazy viral on iTunes. It was like charting on iTunes for a couple months, and like people don't even buy music on. This was before Apple Music existed, actually. It's like Spotify was around, but Apple Music wasn't yet. And so people bought songs on iTunes, and yeah, I was making like $1,000 a day for like a month off of that.
really?
This was like, and I'm still working at Red Lobster.
Bring
And-
back MP3 sales. My God.
No, I know. Well, like again, though, it hit the SEO right. It's like I think,
Yeah.
and like thank you, Lucas Graham, for your song. I'm not gonna like pretend I can take that much credit for it because like people were searching for the song, they found my cover, and they're like, oh, this sounds pretty good. And then they would buy it. And I think there was also a time where before his album came out, he took the song off of iTunes as a single because he wanted people to get the album. And so that was like, oh, it was great.
Yeah, you're like, well, where's the song? Oh, here it is.
Here it is.
This
yeah.
sounds weird. I like it though. Why
I
not?
know.
I wonder if there's like a whole bunch of people out there that's the definitive version in their mind.
Like
because that's the
unironically,
one they
yes,
downloaded?
There actually is, and I know that. because I've seen their like posts on like Twitter and like YouTube over the years of like, I love this song by Ben Schuler, and it's like, oh, I'm so sorry, Lucas Graham, but like, thank you for getting me out of my serving job. But yeah, around that same time, because I was so ingrained in the YouTube scene, and I was like, spent like I had like 100 videos out at this point, probably over the course of a couple years. This guy Jack Taylor, from the UK, who is like a gaming influencer, like gaming YouTuber, I guess, because this is before Twitch streaming too. So like now that's like the most common thing in the world. It was a thing back then, but this is before streaming, where he would, he was very into that community of video games. Like you would release YouTube videos of you playing the video games, like, funny edits, that type of thing. He wanted to start a music channel. And he just like found me because he like was writing a parody song to like some pop song and was like trying to find a singer to do it, like a song about Call of Duty. Basically, it's like, about the video game, but you take the pop song, you put the lyrics from Call of Duty instead of the real lyrics. So he hit me up and it's like, hey, do you want to sing, on, this song? I don't even remember what the initial one was, but I was like, yeah, sure. Pay me $50 or something and like credit me, link my channel. Like that was always the thing back then. It's like, just make sure you link my channel. Like maybe I'll get some subscribers from it. So I did a couple of that, and then I won't get into like, the nitty gritty of the details, but basically like, it's like, okay, I'm forming this nerd out channel with this other guy, Nemraps. We're going to launch it, end of this month. The song Hello by Adele had just come out. And he's like, I wrote this parody to this Adele song where the lyrics are about the new Call of Duty game. And like, I didn't play Call of Duty, so I didn't really like fully understand, but like learning about it later, it was like a very smart, well-written like thing that like all the fans were thinking about the franchise and like how the franchise was letting them down. And it was like a, like, the hello, like hello for me, like so, but it was like singing to the makers of Call of Duty, like hello to the
Hello,
Call of Duty
Activision.
guys. Yeah, basically, I definitely
It didn't
said the
used
word
to. It
Activision.
used to be something else. Now it's
Actually, yeah,
Activision.
was Activision? I know Treyarch was one of the. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe Activision wasn't at the time, but
COD fans being pissed at the developers.
yes.
They're currently pissed about COD 6, and they're like, I used to love these games. I'm like,
Well,
when? When did any of you ever love these games? Because I only ever hear hate.
I do know it's 7 actually now
Oh,
because
sorry. See, I don't know.
Nerd Out we just made one for
You're
the
like, I
7th,
know
but
this shit against my will at
I
this
do know
point.
this. But yeah, anyways, not to jump ahead too far, but I sang this song. It was the first release on the Nerd Out channel, and it went crazy viral, like 100,000 streams in a day on YouTube. Not a day, maybe like the first weekend or something, but like it went crazy. Like we started getting all these subscribers, and like I was just a hired gun. I was like, pay me,
Yeah, you're doing work for hire as well.
yeah. I'm just like, 'cause I don't know anything
Yeah.
about this world. And I'm like, give me, like 20% of whatever this song makes. Well, the song didn't make anything because it got immediately copyright claimed by the actual writers of the song. So it didn't make any money, but this channel started blowing up. And so I naturally started doing more songs with them. And Nem, the rapper on it, like we basically go back and forth. He would like put out a rap about some video game, and then I would do a song, usually a parody where like Jack would write lyrics to a pop song with that. And then at some point, it was actually really close to around the time of the Once I Was 7 Years Old cover. So like I hadn't made any money off the Nerd Out thing yet, but it was like at 300,000 subscribers or something at this point. And I like kind of approached him, was like, hey, like, I've already done, so many songs. This, like, what if I just come on full time and like, as opposed to being a work for hire? And it's like, yeah, I talked to Nem, like, I think that's a good idea. So then like now it was a trio, basically. It's like, now we're going to do original songs. We're not going to do these parodies
Which
anymore.
you're gonna actually make money on.
Yeah. So exactly. And then so we started doing original songs about, video games, like stuff that you would, this is the way I'd try to describe it to people is like, if you see a trailer for a movie and like, that movie hired, like the Spider-Man movie hired Post Malone to make Sunflower, like that was like the song for the Spider-Man movie. That's kind of like what we were doing. So it's like we were making songs that still sounded like mainstream, like pop/rock/rap like songs, but they were like themed and inspired by whatever franchise IP that we were making music about, and quickly found out that there is a massive audience for that. And the audience for that has only exploded since then. Like, um, the genre is called nerdcore, essentially like making music, original music about properties like IPs in the nerd culture world. And yeah, so this was late 2015. I think we hit 1 million subscribers like that summer of 2016. Like it happened so fast. And so like I was still doing like, the YouTube cover stuff for a bit at the time, making original music at the time. And also now I had the second project where we're making this nerdcore music, and I just found myself like fully engrossed in this YouTube world, but it made me I was able to do music for my job. Like I was able to do music for a living, and quit Red Lobster. You guys were great. I appreciate you, but never look back.
I mean, you've got to have that moment where you kind of just take the leap. But I think what's really interesting is, we're both in Nashville. We met at I think it was like Hard. It was Billie Eilish's management companies. Like
It
we were.
was it was a Tons event. What that organization
That's
called
right.
Tons?
At Hard Eight Working Group or
Yeah,
whatever
yeah, it was
that
that.
management company's
Yeah, it
called.
was on like one of the Music Row buildings. I don't remember exactly which one, but
But my point is that you and I are engrossed in a city full of industry people. I was out and about trying to, and I had just started at Venture, which was the previous company I was at, in marketing, and it feels like when you're in this town that you need to play this industry game. And when I met you, I just made the assumption you had a manager, you had an agent, like, you were successful, so you had these things. And you were like, "No, I do this all on my own." And I was like, "That's kind of wild." And ever since I met you and I learned that, there have been multiple instances where you were like, maybe it does make sense for me to develop this relationship with this manager or have an agent. And you have always sort of been like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, I think you see it kind of, and that's not to say you can't find those
yeah,
members,
it's not black
but
and white like that. But I get what you're saying.
it's not. But man, it more often than not feels like somebody coming into your business and taking more than what they're offering. And you give up a piece of a pie that you had built on your own, and you're a really smart business person. And I don't know if you think of yourself that way, but I've always considered you a very intelligent business owner that, in my mind, you're no different than the guy who does like my landscaping, who's very smart about what he spends, because you realize that, hey, I make more money if I spend less money. That
Hmm.
is more money in my pocket. And if I'm going to hire somebody, they better be able to make me more money. And I think the industry, I mean, I've been in marketing, and I can tell you that when they even hire us, I'm thinking about how can I make them more money? And they're thinking about loss leader stuff, because so much of the industry is geared towards endless growth that is not accountable to an ROI. So I think in a lot of ways you scare people in the industry, because you're like, oh, here's a guy who expects me to do my job and help me succeed. I don't know if
I mean,
I don't think I've ever told you this, but this is how I genuinely feel about
I
you and
think
your business.
some of that definitely tracks. Some of it, not necessarily, because I spend like, I mean, if you see how much I spend on these music videos I'm doing for these albums, like that would not be considered a
You're
smart.
like, actually, I
Yeah,
am not a smart
I'm spending
businessman.
a lot of money to grow, to like, yeah, to like
Fair.
hopefully have it pay off later. Um, and no, like I mean, I was at that industry event at that Tons place because I wanted to meet industry people, and but kind of like what you said, and thank you for the compliment on the, business skill. I mean, I have a business degree. That was what I went to school
Do you?
for.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, my major was entrepreneurship, actually.
Well, shit,
That
dude. There you go.
that's my literal major.
Yeah, I
Um,
had no idea.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, that is like kind of what my mindset is when I, go into meetings with people. And yeah, I moved to a place like Nashville not to do YouTube. Like I did it to meet industry people and to like work with the music industry. But I also, have found the ways to do it myself too. And so kind of like, a little bit softer way of how you put it. It's like, yeah, you only want to like like, because I can do it myself, it's like I wanna work with people that, like, make sure it's the right fit and make sure that, like, they can help me get to my goals. And I will push back, it's not a money thing. It really isn't a money thing because it's like I said, the music video stuff, like, I wouldn't be spending 10 grand on a music video to do a whole album of 10 music videos if I didn't think that, like, it was
I
all
mean,
about
if that's
just
all
short-term
you're
money.
spending, that's pretty damn good, though. I mean, 10 grand for 10 music videos,
No,
dude? That's
I meant each. But,
okay. No, you're losing your ass then. Never mind.
you don't wanna see the expense sheet after the 2 sides of the same coin
But
album.
dude, you're
Man,
making, and by the way, anybody listening, I suggest you go look up his latest music video. Dude's making movies at this point. And I want to get into the video stuff later because I
yeah,
I
no,
want
no,
to
we're not there
I
yet,
want to
but
talk about that some more. But yeah, go on.
no, I mean, that is the big pet. But yeah, no, I spend money to make stuff that I'm really passionate about, but I'm able to do that because of the business side of being able to make money off of the music as well. And so, like, I've worked with a decent amount of, like, whether it's management or marketing, because like I've worked with you guys in the past and like different, you know, distribution and stuff like that. And like it's all about finding the right fit and finding, the people that are going to add value, not just quick money, not just quick dollars, but like who can help the growth trajectory, I guess.
But for the record, you have never put the onus on like your success was not gated behind whether or not you found a record deal.
Yeah. I mean, essentially, yeah. It's kind of like, yeah, I've never been the person that's like, I'm gonna, make music and, package it up and make myself the most attractive to a label and then just go shop around and like just try to find some, like, I've always just been kind of like, let's build this, let's just keep building and, find I mean, I will say because the music industry keeps changing so much, and over the past decade, it's changed so much. It's like the labels and like the people, like even like marketing people in your industry. It's like everyone's kind of learning the stuff at the same
Oh yeah.
time. Like it's never like stopping. It's always changing, and so it's like why wait for the industry people who are learning this stuff at the same time too to catch up and to like come find you when at the same time they're learning it, you can also learn it.
Well, and I think you did something that no label could ever do for you. And I think that you, as a male pop artist, and forgive me if I frame you that way, but I think that if you strip away the niches that you've lived in and you had a label approach you, they're looking at somebody like any other, this is any pop. I need this guy to reach as many people as possible. They're not interested in sitting down and being like, this is a guy who can navigate multiple niches, multiple revenue paths, and create a sustainable business. They don't give a shit about that. They care about one thing: can this guy play arenas? And it to them, I think to most labels, it's all or nothing because that's their business
Mm,
model. But I think, and I don't know if you've, I'm sure you've considered this, but you have found niches within pop, which is a very difficult thing to do both in the YouTube world and the nerd world, and then that's even evolved over time,
mhm.
the cover world, and you go, oh, I can be a full-time musician, and these are all the things that I'm doing. And that's not to say you don't want to be playing arenas. Obviously,
Oh,
that's
yeah.
the end game.
That is absolutely the goal.
But you didn't need it. What to you, and this is where I think a lot of artists struggle, is that to them it's very black and white. It's either I'm poor and I work at Red Lobster or I'm playing arenas. They don't understand, even as a pop artist, that there are avenues and situations where you can grow and build on something that create a foundation that you can then go after that larger goal and then also be full time, which enables you to go after it even harder.
Yeah. I think, yeah, it's like you said, pop artists, like I get in Nashville, it's kind of like anyone who doesn't do country. It's like, oh yeah, you're on the pop side. But like kind of one of the reasons I don't consider myself that pop is because of that. Like what you said, the all or nothing. It's like if you're pop, it's top 40. Like you got to be with the label, you got to be on the major, you have to
Yeah.
be like doing that path. And it's kind of like, the word indie, the word alternative, like none of it really means anything, but it's kind of like finding a alternative way to reach people that might not be just like the standard thing. And not all this to say, like, if, you know, so and so from big major label was like, I love everything exactly what you're doing. And it's like, we think that we like can take it further. We believe in what you're doing. We really like it. It's like, hell yeah, let's go. But because that hasn't happened, it's like, okay, instead of sitting here and like trying to make myself the perfect candidate for that, let's just do it ourselves and like let's just make it happen.
I feel like if you got signed to Republic, I think that their marketing team, it would astound you how much more you know than their marketing team. I mean, that sounds,
I don't know if I think that's true, but like you probably have a better grasp on than I do. I don't
dude,
know.
I not a Republic, and I say Republic because I've never worked with them. And there are
Yeah.
certainly people at these companies that are absolutely brilliant, but they're held back in experimenting in a way that you experiment all the time. I mean, and I called you a pop artist. It is an unfair assessment of your new music, which is more alternative rock. And I ran some ads for you, and you were like, why are you targeting
Like
pop
targeting
fans?
pop. Yeah.
And
Why
I
are
was
you
like,
targeting pop?
oh my God, you're right. Why did I do that? Because in my mind, I'm thinking about the last record we worked.
Mm-hmm.
There's such talented people that are at these labels at all levels, but they have certain goals and they can only take certain risks. And when they do take risks, it for them, it's their job is on the line. And I've
Yeah.
seen people fired because they're like, I'm going all in on this idea. It didn't work out. Everybody's mad at me. So when you as an artist, and artists are so savvy now, like I'll be sitting there as the marketing team, you have the artist and then the label, and you can tell the label people are kind of panicking because the artist and their team management, whatever marketing, they have all these crazy ideas and they're just not allowed to do that. And
Interesting.
so it's really come to a point where these labels, like for you, it's really about access to certain things. Like I can't believe how easy it is. I can't believe how easy it is to get on playlists for these labels constantly. Any of our
Mhm.
artists that are on majors,
Yeah.
it's like assumed we're going to be on playlists
Yeah,
and
yeah.
let's take advantage of that.
There's
So
things
there
that
are
you
other things,
No,
but
there's things that you can't get unless you're on a label. Absolutely
yeah.
100%. But like that definitely makes sense what you're saying about like I mean, you could go back to what you said, like if a marketing person at a label, they want to take a risk on something and it doesn't work out, that's their job. Well, same thing with the artist. If they convince the label people to let them take a risk on something, it doesn't work out, they just get dropped or they get shelved. And
True.
like,
Yeah,
so if
that's
it,
true.
yeah, I get that.
Everybody starts to play it safe.
Yeah.
I mean, I've definitely been I had one idea. I took this very country band and I put them on a green screen and I didn't get fired, but I almost got fired because it worked. It worked really well, but it was so risky and it didn't pay off tremendously that it's like this guy doesn't fucking get it. It's tough. But when you do take that risk and it works, everybody's like, oh, he's a genius. I think about it like football when
Mm.
they make that crazy play and
When
it
you go
fails, you're like,
for it on
watch it.
4th and 3, like, I
Yeah.
mean, I'm a Lions fan, so I live with it every week,
Dude,
but,
they're risky. If you're enjoying this interview, there's 30 more minutes of it, but you need to be a premium member to see it. We really get into what he had to do to bypass the record labels and build a successful artist career on his own.
I'm going to shock you all. I was scrolling and I came across this post and it says, you and I are going to steal the #1 spot on Billboard. So what it goes on to say, over the next 20 days, we're bringing together 100,000 plus strangers to create an album and push it to #1 on the Billboard chart. We made a website where anyone can record 1 second of audio for our album, get paid $7.99 for their contribution, pre-order the album using that $7.99, so you can be on the album and bump it up on the charts, all in 30 seconds. This album is going to have music by artists who deserve a chance to be heard, plus 1 second from everyone who records on our website. We need 100,000 people to steal the #1 spot.
I have so many thoughts about this, and it's so hilarious.
Let them rip.
Where do you want to start? Oh, let it rip. So, first of all, and correct me if I'm wrong, but the only chart that it's going to chart on Billboard is the sales chart, which is kind of not that important. In fact, when the AI artists that shall not be named hit #1 and they created all those articles around it, the industry, who really is the industry, was sort of like, you could buy on the #1 spot with $3,000. So, but what I think is funny about it is is okay. So you could do it. You could do it pretty easily, even without all of this. Why? I guess there's a story there, which is interesting, but the why of it is, but I feel like whoever's on the other side of this is sort of like, why not? Or are they trying
Mhm.
to prove a point that maybe the system is flawed and stupid? I don't know. It's just chaotic and hilarious to me to a degree where I'm just like, sure, why not? But it isn't going to change the lives of the artists who deserve it, quote unquote, that are going to be on that album.
I think the vibe I got just from what I mean, I guess my assumptions going into this were like they're trying to give a message that these charts are stupid and they're manipulated
Yeah.
anyways. And the fact that we can get something to number one just shows how ridiculous the whole thing is. And like having a thing, everybody's album that they're doing this for be in the number one spot shows that like anyone can do it. Doesn't matter how good the music is, whatever. It's all just a sham. Um, but as you said, it's probably not going to actually chart because it's manipulated,
Yeah.
right? Just like that AI artist only hit the country song sales digital chart. They didn't, or no, I think there was a different artist. There's another artist they were excluded from like the main chart because of how they hit their numbers. So this is probably going to fall into the same camp. The only difference is this is human music and not AI music.
Does
Mhm.
Billboard actually remove stuff though? Like, is that
Yeah,
there's a
well, it's not always removed, it's that they don't count the sales. I wouldn't say the exact same thing as that. So, like, a good example is DJ Khaled did a bundling one week that,
I remember.
yeah, and so they said, like, "Yes, while you sold the most because you bundled this in a way we told you you're not allowed to do, you are now gonna be discounted all those sales, but the sales you didn't do in that method do count." And, like, that
Mm.
is the thing, it's like this one of the funniest things of especially, like, working in news is what constantly happens is, like, an artist like Tom MacDonald, one of I think the stupidest artist we've ever had come into the world. He'll do a song like "Woke is dead. I love America, even though I'm from Canada."
He does
That
literally have a song called "Woke is Dead," by the
yeah,
way.
Yeah,
yeah, yeah.
Or
for sure.
I think, yeah,
I'm sure he
it's
does.
something like that.
And honestly, I may have known that, or I just guessed it because it's the most obvious dumb idea he would have. Anyway, so what he then does, he goes, "If you're a real American, not like me, you buy this on the iTunes chart, we'll go to number one and show those woke libtards what we were doing here to real America." And then a bunch of boomers buy it. And let me tell you, it gets a few headlines on some stupid sites, and then everybody goes, "This chart does not matter." It's literally a cyclical cycle. Rolling Stone writes an article, "This chart does not matter. This idiot grifted a bunch of senior citizens for their money for this," and that's that. And the cycle goes
Honestly,
on.
he alone is probably a topic for a future discussion because, like, his business model is so the way he gets attention and has turned it into, like, monetizing his music. Love him or hate him, it's kind of brilliant, and he's been super successful at it. But he's definitely a grifter, if whatever that by whatever definition you have for grifter.
Yeah.
Brilliant or shameless in that the way that most people wouldn't do something so dumb and hate on trans people for attention.
Yeah, I think it's one of those that anyone can do it, but you just have to, like, be willing to have no morals or ethics, or at least have those morals and ethics. I'm sure he thinks he's doing something great for the
No one
world.
knows from his perspective
Yeah.
if he, actually even believes what he says, or is he just saying it for the clout, money, success, whatever.
Yeah, but even without the politics, like, people do shock value and, like, have careers based on shock and, like, creating hatred and conversations. Kinda part of my job is doing that as well. So I don't really that's just kind of the way the game works. He didn't invent it, he's just doing it okay.
But, Dustin, you asked, will they remove or not count anything from the charts? This was a different AI artist than the one you were talking about that did the 3,000 sales. An artist that actually, like, went viral on TikTok. Not only in their case, they also had all their Spotify streams
Was it the I
invalidated.
Run?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
I
they were
run,
excluded from
dude.
the Billboard Hot 100, even though
Really?
they actually hit it legitimately. Like,
Yeah.
they didn't bought anything, they didn't fake anything, it was all real listeners. In their case, they were excluded from the Billboard Hot 100, because it was AI, but they were banned from Spotify because of impersonation, I think.
Yeah, I was about to say, I thought it was the impersonation thing across the board, not that it was AI. But I think we're in uncharted territories anyways. I mean, what is it? iHeartRadio recently took a song off the air because it was AI, and the CEO was just like, "We're not doing it. We're a human-made company. Like, we're gonna do human-made
Yeah.
music."
As the company that writes my biggest check every month, I really appreciate that very much, so I don't have to say anything bad about them.
I'm about to go
Yeah,
subscribe to them. I'm
exactly.
like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
But
Well, there needs to be some sort of like rule that people are like, it's human or nothing. Like we got to take this stuff down. Otherwise, it's just gonna all be AI music because it's so easy to make and it sounds okay. And the problem, like for most artists, is the amount of production that they're not able to do because human creativity takes longer. And if you're able to just pump out slop, you can get anywhere.
Yeah, I'm still convinced we're gonna end up in a world where there's gonna be mandated watermarking on all of this very soon. Yeah,
I feel like
I
Rick
see that.
Beato had a unique take on this. I don't know. I see Jesse's eyes rolled a little bit.
Andrew, I kept them so straight. So if
what
they rolled, it was
I,
because
it,
they defied my body and didn't tell me.
it's
Yeah, I mean,
it's actually
this,
because your
we're not
video
on our.
froze for a second while your eyes were closed. It
Yeah.
forced you to eye roll.
So this topic isn't necessarily about music. We're talking about this just because of the whole charting thing, right? But like,
Yeah, try to get back to the subject.
yes. But Rick Beato had an interesting video about it lately, so we'll save that for maybe a future episode. But I guess on the charting on this particular issue that we're actually talking about,
To
this
make a
is
point
real
though,
human music, and they're clearly manipulating the charts and showing people exactly how they're going to manipulate
how they're
the charts.
doing it. And I think that AI artist, the reason that I think they got away with it is because it just looked organic. They're like, here's how we're gonna do it. So Billboard's like, well, now we know, so that's not gonna happen. By the way, they said 100,000 people. They don't even need that much. They need like 1,000 people. Like that's it.
It depends on the chart they're going
We're
for.
talking
I
about
think they're going for number 1 on the Billboard 200, which they would definitely need more than 1,000 for
okay.
that. Like,
But isn't
I don't
that
know
just
how many.
sales?
I mean, the idea is that the sales equal enough. So like I can remember there was this point that this is actually a different premise to go for, is that one of the things that we'll all experience is that, what you decide for this album is, as a team, the label or the management has decided we need this metric on the chart so that we have a quote unquote good look and something to brag about when we're like pitching this tour. And so then a lot of times what people get into is then the question of, well, what could we buy with this budget? And should we just do this to buy this? Sometimes it's, just a New York Times article that they really want to get because that's going to be like a feature of the New York Times that says that. And then sometimes it is #1 alternative music chart on Apple. They think is going to be the thing that gets them this notoriety. This is a thing that a lot of people, I think, sometimes think is going to do a lot, but really, I don't see this opening any door because everybody knows this. I think one of the reasons everybody knows these are easily manipulated is, when you think back, do you all remember when on the English pop charts they would do this thing where they would try to make a different song that was like funny, go viral for Christmas Day,
Mm-hmm.
and they got Killing in the Name of by Rage Against the Machine to be #1?
That
That's
is
funny. I
fantastic.
had not heard about that.
Awesome.
That's hilarious though.
You guys are such Americans, not paying attention to England, Jesus.
And
All America, baby.
we're the only country that matters.
That's right. That's right.
Jesus.
We
if
just
that was
lost all
true.
our European viewers.
Yeah, well, they
Every
know
single
we're
one of them
joking.
is now.
They know it's a joke.
Somebody has to represent Matt's views since he's gone today.
Yeah.
Right.
All this is to say, I think we're past the point that anybody who works in the business being impressed by any of this. This is more just like, when you're looking at it from the outside, it feels.
It's vanity metrics, and it does matter to regular people and even artists because they don't understand the way it works. It just sounds like a dream come true. And so I think I saw that post and I said, oh, he's just trying to make everyone's dream come true. Like even their own, whoever is posting this, like that is something you just always want, and you want to be able to say it doesn't really matter, it doesn't mean much, but it just has symbolism to us.
That's fair.
Does anyone know anything about the guy that's doing it?
Mm-mm.
Anthony Poe?
That name
Everyone
sounds
that's
familiar.
commented that knows him keeps saying like, this sounds like the crazy thing you would do. And it looks like all his other content is just like memes.
Is it kind of like Mr. Beast? Like, I'm gonna get to the top Billboard chart in like
It
5
is very
days.
Mr. Beast.
Here,
Just
There's
do
a
it to
thing
do
that
it.
there's a video he did that's like, I just went undercover as an old man for 70 days, and I don't know
Yeah.
if it's legit, but
Well, I think this in itself is good content. Like what he could get out of this is a viral moment. Like that's
yeah.
probably why he's doing it. This will go viral. It already
Oh,
has.
he's very Mr. Beast code. He's a content. So this is not a music thing. He's doing shticks. I get it. Okay.
but the artists that he's featuring, if they actually accomplish their goal, let's say they hypothetically are allowed to be on the chart, even though there's no way they will, at least not the Hot 100 or whatever chart they were going for. Let's say they do hit number 1 and they're allowed, and then it gets all this press coverage that it happened. Does that drive anything meaningful for any of the artists on this album?
Unless they capitalize on it, which you could. You could hustle this. It would be really hard, and it's like probably one person might get some opportunities from it. Maybe bookers would think it's impressive. Maybe they could get it management, possibly could sway a record label. You never know. It takes some smooth talking. I think you can kind of turn anything into an opportunity.
If you're one of the artists on this, though, what do you think they should do? Like, if one of the artists that's on it is watching, what would your advice be?
If you get on the Billboard chart, you need to make a million videos about it. You need to say it every day until that video goes viral. And then the viral video could change your life and your career, but the chart probably won't. So just use it as much as you can. Put it in as many emails as you can. Put in your EPK, press release, whatever. Use that, baby.
It is interesting because, like, like when I see this, like, like one of the groups I worked with a lot about like 8 years ago, they had like number 1 in I remember this was the big thing. Beat Taylor Swift in Mexico on the charts
Yeah,
that week.
that's huge.
And that they use that to brag, but like when you have 2,000 Instagram followers, it doesn't really back up a lot of open doors when you're using that to open doors, because it's like, well, we know you did something to manipulate this, and they did.
That's
But
fair.
Well, I was gonna say that they had a follow-up post. I don't know if you guys
Mm.
saw it 3 days ago, where he mentions again what they're doing, and it said, "Billboard is worried that our efforts has broken the rules." And Billboard emailed them and said, "We have been informed by the US charts. We cannot report the sales per their information below." And they're in this image, that is such a poorly, I don't know who Danny from Billboard is, but you gotta proofread your emails. Um,
Maybe it's
Like,
fake.
I'm trying to read this. This might be fake.
As someone who consulted at Penske Media for quite a number of years, let me just say, inside Penske Media, the emails are written at Jeffrey Epstein level grammar.
Yeah, it could be very true. Some mid-level guy's like, I guess so. He's got a million other emails. But they're arguing that these are legal sales. But I think legality has nothing to do with it. Like, Billboard owns their charts. They can dictate the rules. There's no laws dictating the
Yeah.
Billboard charts. They could look at
Mm.
this and just be like, no. Because I mean, it's not Billboard's trying to create a chart that's reflective of consumers, right? And if they allow somebody to manipulate their charts, then the value is gone. So yeah, they said here that they're talking to Billboard and trying to, the album's not up yet because they're trying to, which I guess they met their goal in a couple of days. They did everything because they're trying to put the album up, but now they're worried they're going to get flagged and the whole experiment's going to be
You
foiled
know what's
by Billboard.
interesting, actually, is I assumed they were going to be doing this with some iTunes thing, but they're actually just selling them on a Shopify store based on their second post. And not to go back to Tom McDonald again, but he did a video because like he pulls some crazy numbers, like tens of thousands of CD sales or something. And he did a whole video series where he talks about how much Billboard screwed him over, where they refused to count any sales on his Shopify store, even though he was willing to give them like admin access to go back in and confirm all the sales were legitimate. So he had actually authentic sales, unmanipulated by any means, on a Shopify store. And Billboard said, nope, we can't confirm any of these.
Now, granted, I trust Tom McDonald to be honest about as far as I could throw him, but that's
But
a different
honestly,
story.
based on his numbers, it's not hard to
Well,
believe in what you see about his audience, right?
I will never, ever contend that you can't grift MAGA boomers into doing really, really dumb things with their money. It is not an argument Jesse Cannon is ever going to make.
Dude, Trump is still sending out fundraising emails, and the election's been over for over a year. And clearly he's continuing to grift them.
But these guys, $600,000 of sales on Shopify. And so I wonder, does Billboard even care about the fact that they just did straight up manipulate it, or are they doing this because it's a Shopify store that they can't validate?
Are you talking about the Everybody's album from Anthony Poe, though?
Yeah, if you're on Anthony Poe's page, the post he did 3 days ago, with that email that you from Danny, this bottom part of it shows the Shopify screenshot.
It's a bit weird. I don't understand the sales. I guess the album's on pre-order. I went to their website, which, by the way, the website in their link that for this whole endeavor is amazing. It's like, I can't believe how great this website is. So I guess they gave out all the money and then they have it on pre-order, and I guess that's what that is. Sorry, I'm figuring it out in real time how they did it.
That screenshot's from Shopify. That's what the back end of Shopify reporting looks like.
But that doesn't make any
And
sense, though. Like, how are they pre-selling an album on Shopify and then trying to get reported on it? I mean, can you do it that way?
Well, there's 2 ways. One, like, they used to have a way to manually report. I don't know if they do anymore, but like the way a lot of people do it now, which is the actual like legitimate way to do it on the store, is there's an app called Single Music that will automatically report every sale to Luminate. They also do some international Billboard charting companies too. So I don't know if they integrated with like Single Music. I have to imagine not, because they have to give a cut of every single sale to Single Music. That's why I often tell people don't use that companies, because they're egregiously priced. But they could also maybe be trying to manually report them, and that's why they had this email thread with Mr. Danny here. How else would Billboard know to email them back? They must have emailed them with like their sales data, and then some representative from Luminate, Danny, hit him back up and was like, hey, we can't, like, you didn't track this legitimately or whatever.
It is not an easy thing to track legitimately. So I'm wondering if they might have screwed the whole thing up already.
Yeah, why would they do it on Shopify then? Is it just because it's so much easier?
It's
I don't
very
think they
easy.
could automate it if they did it on iTunes or something. Like, I don't know how they could automate it.
I see.
Thank you guys so much for listening to this podcast. We're trying to get this to go as far as it can, so please start a conversation with a musician friend and send it to them.
If you enjoy this episode, please consider subscribing on your favorite podcast app. If you're on YouTube, make sure you subscribe and turn on the notifications so you don't miss our episodes every single Tuesday. And if you can rate us on Apple and Spotify, it helps us a ton, so tune in next week for more.